So this is going to sound a little different than my other episodes so far because I am recording this while I'm on the road. Now, I'm currently on the road heading to Texas to go help a good friend of mine and support him running a helicopter hog hunting season. It's a company called Heli Hunters. Heli Hunters is located just south of Dallas, Texas, just outside of a town called Avalon. You can look them up online, HELI-Hunters. I think it's helihunters.com. You can book a hunting session online. They do all sorts of offerings throughout the year. It's a hunting lodge. They have a phenomenal lodge located down there. The lodge name is called Wild Acres. It's absolutely beautiful. And the lodge is awesome. The guy that owns it, his name's Craig Meyer. He's a really, really good guy. You can find him. He's got a TV show. It's called Target Rich Environment. That TV show, I think you can find it on the Sportsman's channel. They run multiple episodes, helps promote the company, but it's really good content. And Craig is just a really good human being. I had a chance to meet Craig last year in 22 when I went down there with a group of my clients and some friends to go on a hog hunting experience, and it was really, really spectacular. It was some of the most fun I've had. In a long time. So I'm on the road heading down to Texas, and I just got off the phone with a couple of my clients. And I wanted to talk about one of the ideas or one of the things that we discussed. And one of my clients said, I don't understand why I keep doing all the right things at all the right times and nothing lands. And I kind of had to chuckle a little bit. And the reason why is because there's this idea or concept that if we do all the right things, and quote unquote all the right things, quote unquote all the right time, and we do it regularly, that it'll land, and we'll hit this home run. Everybody is looking to hit a fucking home run. Every single person, and I don't understand why. I'm not immune to this problem either. I oftentimes am also looking to hit that home run. But the fact of the matter is that home runs do not generate great success and great wins. Are home runs awesome? Yes, absolutely. It's a phenomenal thing to hit a home run, but it doesn't win the game. And the reason why is because we keep playing in life and in business like it's some finite game. We keep playing like there's some set rules that we have to play by. There's some set number of players that we get to play against, and there's a way to win. The only way to play and the only way to win in life is to keep playing the fucking game. It's an infinite game. So are home runs awesome? Yes, they sure are. But guess what? The fact of the matter is that games are not won on home runs. They're won on singles and doubles. They're won on consistent, small, consistent daily effort. And the fact is that single, small, consistent daily effort creates new habits and builds a thing called discipline. And discipline is what drives change. And the reason why I say discipline drives change is because we have to become dedicated. Every single day, we have to become dedicated into making a change, into looking at the small actions, into staying consistent with our small actions. Yes, we're swinging for home runs, but we also recognize and acknowledge that more than likely we're gonna hit singles. But why do we keep overlooking singles? Why do we keep overlooking these small efforts that really are the things that create success and keep looking for the home run? Because everybody wants to live the hero's story. Everybody wants to have overnight success or overnight wealth. Everybody wants to have overnight skills. Everybody's looking for that pill, that potion, that algorithm that magically makes them super successful or super skillful at a thing. The fact of the matter is that if you don't recognize that if you don't lead yourself through consistent effort, then you're never going to be able to lead anyone else and help support you in building the vision of your life. If you can't lead yourself through discipline and consistent effort, you're never going to be able to lead your family and to become a successful family and having a successful relationship. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead your fucking business. If you can't lead yourself, you're never going to become better at shooting or protection or fighting or leadership. The fact of the matter is that oh God, it frustrates me so much. If you really think about this, there's this concept that we live by, that the home runs are the things that we're always swinging for, but we overlook the singles, we don't maintain consistent effort, and then we get down on ourselves and we start beating ourselves up like we're not doing the things that we know we can do in order to continue to grow and change. And by can, I mean this: you can do all sorts of things to be better, but you got to choose the hard that you want to do. Because I promise you this, you sitting on your ass, that is hard. You choosing to not sit on your ass, that is hard. It's hard. It is. And if you think the price of winning is too high, wait until you get the bill from regret. I heard that quote today and it slammed me in the face. There is a price to everything that we do, and if you're not willing to pay the price to win because it's too high of a price to pay, believe me, sitting your ass on the couch and continuing to do the same thing over and over again, hoping that it will magically change one day, and when you're on your deathbed and you look back over the totality of your life and you have that giant bill of regret come land on your chest, I promise you, the price to pay for regret is far higher than the price to pay to achieve success. And achieving success doesn't necessarily mean making $1 million. Achieving success doesn't necessarily mean being an entrepreneur and owning a company. Achieving success doesn't necessarily mean whatever it means to me. Your success can be defined by you. Look, if you're happy making $120,000, $200,000 a year, and that's what you want, and that gives you enough money to be able to live your life and do what you want to do, that's awesome. If that's your definition of success. But the problem is that most people have never defined what it is that they want. Most people have never taken the time to sit down to truly define what it is that they want. And I just want to have a happy life. I just want to have a happy life. I just want to have a good marriage. Or I just want to have a good relationship. I just want my children to be happy. That's cool. That's great. That's great. It's awesome that you want to be happy. But what does that mean? What does that look like? How do you define it? And more importantly, how is it that we as individuals can ever take consistent effort and apply purposeful action to things that aren't defined? If you talk about leadership and leading yourself, and if you want to talk about leading a business or leading a team or leading other people or leading your family, it all ties together. It all comes from the same place. And the number one place that it starts is an identification and definition of where you currently are. Where are you at right now? And if you understand land navigation, and if we recognize that our path in life, our path in growth, our path in business, our path in leading our family, our path in leading our teams requires a path, because we use that word for a reason, then not only do we know where we have to know where we are, and we have to define it, and we have to understand it, we have to acknowledge it, but we also have to define where we want to go. And to say that you want to have a happy life is not a definition. It's not a fucking definition. It's a bullshit cop-out that gives you permission to say that okay is okay. It's a bullshit permission to say I want a happy life. That is you accepting mediocrity as a definition of what the fuck you want. I want a happy life. Well, what does that mean? I don't know. Cool. Then be a mediocre fuckstick and don't do anything to change your fucking life. Don't do anything to shift and adjust. Don't do anything to grow and be better. Don't recognize that you could actually be a greater asset and live, really, really, really live the life you truly want to live. I don't understand why I keep doing the right thing at the quote right time and it's not landing. The fact of the matter is that this particular client, who I think is a phenomenal man, who is doing phenomenal work, and he's putting in the work, he's putting in the effort, the number one problem that he had was that he put all his eggs in one basket. He runs a subcontracting company, and he does some specialty work. His company does specialty work. I don't want to get into the details. But he put all his eggs in one basket. And all he did was grow and foster that one relationship. But that one relationship couldn't generate other lines of revenue for him, because once that relationship was done, that company didn't need him anymore. So he didn't take the time to build relationships outside of that one company. So he had one company providing him business, and he didn't expand his business outside of that to have other companies provide him business. And that's great, that's awesome, but I want you to think about the relationships that you're developing in your life right now, the people you surround yourself with. Who are you surrounding yourself with? What is the quality of their character? What do they actually want in life? Are they driven to be better? Or do they continue to give you permission, and are they complicit in your mediocrity? I want more. I'm grateful for what I have, but I want more. I'm not satisfied. I want more. I want to build more wealth. I want to live a more adventurous life. I want to have more experiences. And I want those things for my daughter as well. It's gotten to a point where modern society, we've promoted this concept that mediocrity is acceptable because as long as you feel good, that's all that matters. And the conversation I had with my client was the same thing. Look, dude, don't get in your feelings around this. Stop asking the question, why is it that what I'm doing isn't working? And ask the question, what have I done in the past that's worked? And how can I double down on that? Well, guess what's worked in the past? Building relationships to secure contracts, building relationships to build business, building relationships to learn shit that's new that we didn't learn before. So what's the number one thing that you've done in the past that's worked? Response, building relationships. Cool. Continue to build relationships and you know that it will pay off. There's no magical answer. There's no magical pill. There's not some magical algorithm or formula. And you have 1,000,001 newfound coaches. God, I hate that fucking term. Newfound coaches in the market space that if you just do X, Y, and Z, you'll have this. If you just do X, Y, and Z, you'll have that. Generate wealth, success overnight. Blah, 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 blah. Invest in this program. It'll change your money overnight. It won't. It won't fucking change shit overnight. No program, no investment, none of that shit is gonna change a fucking thing unless you understand and recognize that it's your responsibility to do the work. And until you shift your perspective and understand that consistent daily effort, attention to detail, purposeful and intentional actions, and the ability to define what it is you truly want, and also take some fucking responsibility and acknowledge that you are where you are because of the choices that you made, nothing will change. I had another conversation with another client of mine. And we were talking about this idea, and he said, I'm just waiting for the perfect moment. When I hear people say that, I literally want to jump up and grab the table and flip it upside down. And I'm not gonna lie, I've done that a couple of times. That's another problem that we run into inside of the world of business entrepreneurship, as well as people that are just high performers. They're always looking for perfection. And a lot of times, people that are seeking perfection will end up not taking any action at all because they want the perfect solution or the perfect answer. But the fact of the matter is that as soon as you take action, you change the variables. I don't want a perfect plan. I want a 70% solution or an 80% solution. The fact of the matter is that as soon as I initiate action on whatever plan I put together, all the variables change. Imagine a beautiful snowfall. It's done snowing, the sun's risen, it's cold, it's like 20 degrees outside, and it's perfect snow. And you look outside and it's completely unblemished. There's this giant, beautiful field of white. As soon as you take your first step into that snow, you've changed that field. That is the same way plans work. You have this beautiful plan, and it looks gorgeous on paper. And you put all this thought into this plan, the whole 9 yards. Then you take your first step, and the entire plan has to change because you've just changed the variables. You have two options when that happens. You can go, well, shit, the plan's for naught, everything's ruined, everything's wrecked, there's no point continuing to go forward. Or, rather than seeking perfection, you can seek excellence. And in seeking excellence, you can recognize that you change the variable, which means that you also have the ability to adjust the plan real time. And this is the crucial piece of, and a differentiating piece of what makes successful people successful and victims victims. Creators recognize that perfection is a lie, but excellence is achievable. And so rather than seeking perfection, they seek excellence. And they also recognize that they have the power to adjust and shift real time. This is where we adjust and we stop having a conversation about linear thought. All too often people are operating from this place of black and white, this linear thought process. Well, if I do this, then this. If I do this, then this. This is a perfect plan. If I execute this perfect plan, then this is the outcome. That's not true. You have to have cerebral elasticity. You have to let your brain stretch. You have to be malleable. You have to not be rigid. Think about a piece of steel. You take a hardened piece of steel that's never been tempered, there is no flex. And as soon as you hit it on one thing, it snaps, it breaks. I had a custom forge knife making company. It's called Nomad Ironworks. And I started this as one of my first entrepreneurial endeavors. And believe it or not, it wasn't bad. I actually made pretty good knives. You can go on Instagram and check it out if you want. Nomad Ironworks, 2 words. And I made some cool blades. And I had some success, small success. But it was more of a hobby and a pastime, less of a true business venture. I wanted to turn it into a true business venture. I had some ideas around it, but then the plans changed. But here's the thing. When you quench a blade to harden it, and before it goes to tempering, that blade becomes so hard that it becomes fragile. And the fragility of the blade makes it worthless as a tool because it will just break. As soon as you put load on that blade, it will snap, it will shatter. But you take that blade after you harden it and you temper that blade. And you temper it by reheating it to a certain temperature, which means that you're applying new stressors to the blade through heat. You diminish how brittle that blade is. You give it some elasticity. You add some elasticity to the steel. And now the steel has some give. Now it has a little flex to it. Now you can use it, and it's not as fragile anymore. It's still hard, it's still sharp, it's still capable, but it's not fragile. And this is the problem with people with the concept of perfection. They're fragile as fuck. They're so fragile because as soon as a thing doesn't go to plan, then everything's for naught and the world is collapsing and the sky is falling and everything's burning down around their head. But the fact of the matter is that it's okay that the plan didn't go to plan, because the purpose of planning is to have a plan, but more importantly, it's to have a purpose. We plan so that we can understand possibilities. We plan so that we're all on the same page. We plan so that when a plan initiates and we execute that plan, when there's a kerfuffle, when the plan goes to shit, we're still all on the same page. Hey guys, this was the plan. Everybody knows the plan? Yeah, cool. Plan's gone to shit. Cool. We're going to make a real-time adjustment. Well, guess what? We've already defined where we are. We already defined where we're going. We've already defined what the outcome is. We know exactly what it is that we want. We planned to achieve what it is that we want. So everybody is on the same page about where the fuck we're going. How we get there now has to adjust. Leadership requires you to understand that you have a responsibility to define where you are and to define where you're going. And as a leader, you have to be able to communicate that clearly with your team, and you also have to teach your team how to buy into the plan. You have to give them buy-in. That means that they have to take ownership of the success of the company. And I don't necessarily mean ownership of the company like equity, but ownership in general. It's the same thing that happens with your family. It's the same thing that happens with your friends. You have a conversation with your friends. You go through a planning session about what you guys are going to do over the weekend. Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. Hey, does anybody want to go to the bar this weekend? Oh, yeah, let's go to the bar. Cool. Where do you want to go? Oh, maybe we go here. Maybe we go here. Yeah, that all sounds a lot of fun. What's that one place that we went to everybody really enjoyed? Everybody has the ability to put input, to add their input into the plan. That gives them buy-in to the plan. Why is it that we are capable of doing that with our friends, But when it comes to business leadership, when it comes to team leadership, we're not capable to do that with the team all too often. Leaders believe it's their responsibility to have the answer for every fucking question, and it's their responsibility, ultimately, to dictate the direction. A leader is a guide, not a dictator, not a fucking tyrant. Your job is to lead, train, and mentor. Lead, provide clear, concise communications, lines of communications from top to bottom and bottom to top. Understanding that there are clear key performance indicators inside of your company and inside of your team. And this goes for anybody. It's not just it's not just business. It's also, let's talk about law enforcement. Let's talk about firefighters. Let's talk about paramedics. Let's talk about team sports, like any fucking team there is. These three principles apply every time. Lead, clear, concise communications, clear, concise instructions. Your team has to understand the vision and the mission. They have to understand the core values of the company, your family, your team, whatever it might be that they're a part of. They have to understand them. They have to abide by them. They have to see them. They have to live them. They have to own them. Train. As the leader, your job is to make certain that you can train your team not only how to operate and communicate together, but also train them on what to do. And not what to think, but how to think. The process of thinking. Your job is to not provide the answer every single time. Your job is to not just show up and tell them what to do. Your job is to teach them the process of thinking through a problem. I want a team to be problem solvers. I want them to be solution finders, not problem finders. How often, if you're a team leader anytime, somebody's brought you a problem and just said, hey boss, here's the problem. Blah. Well, what'd you try and do about it? Nothing, I just wanted you to bring the problem. Well, the problem is you as the leader have not cultivated a community inside of your business, your team, whatever it might be, for people to be solution finders. You just created you've incentivized your entire team to be problem finders. And then like little children who have no life experience, they bring it to you like an adolescent child who has no life experience and says, here's a problem. Yes, bad news does not get better with time. And also, I don't want bad news. I want bad news and possible solutions. Which leads us to the third part, which is mentorship. Mentorship is a key piece of leadership that's forgotten. How can you create success for yourself, your team, in any way, shape, or form if you don't understand the internal and external motivating factors of your team members? What drives them? What gives them fulfillment? What gives them significance? What gives them a place, a value, a worthiness in what they're doing? I promise you this, it's not because they work for you and it's not because they're on your team. Unless you've cultivated a culture or a community on your team where that plays a role. As a leader, your responsibility is to make certain that you understand those internal and external motivating factors. And then you train and teach your team how they can achieve success. And it doesn't matter what kind of team we're talking about. We could be talking about an NFL team. We could be talking about a high school or college football team. We could be talking about your family. We could be talking about your children. We could be talking about your business. We could be talking about your fucking bowling team that goes to Fred's bowling alley on Thursday night for the $2 bowling league. It doesn't matter what team we're talking about. This applies across the board. If you are in a leadership position, your responsibility is to make certain that you know where you are and where you want to go, and that's well established and communicated to your team. Your responsibility is to teach your team the process of how to think, not what to think. Teach them the process and train them on how to push the buttons and pull the levers, the mechanics of the job, the mechanics of whatever we're doing. And the mentorship piece is the mentality piece. I talk about tactics as the combination of mechanics and mentality. And in reality, as a leader, you have to be technically and tactically proficient. That doesn't mean that you have to have all the answers. A very good friend of mine, who I've learned a lot from, once said to me, he said, Adam, the smartest man in the room is not the man with all the answers. The smartest man in the room is the man who has the ability to find the people with the answers and bring them onto his team, and then teach those people how to be even more successful and using their genius to support the entire success of the company, the business, or the team as a whole. The smartest man is not the man with all the answers. The smartest man is the one who has the ability to find the people with the answers and then bring them onto the team. And this dude's smart. I would say this dude is probably around the level of genius. And he's a brilliant man. He's a very successful businessman. He's a very good friend. He's a phenomenal father. He's a wonderful husband. He's made a shit ton of mistakes in his life. And he also recognized that the only way to change was to choose differently. Which leads me back to how we started this entire conversation to begin with. Which is, if you want to be perfect, then you can pray on your knees. But if you want to be excellent, you have to walk down the path. One requires, literally, it requires zero action. And you can rot there. The other requires 1 foot in front of the other. Doesn't matter how fast you move down the path, it just matters that you move down the path. And this is the battle that we all face. This is the battle that leaders face. In fact, leaders would face the next level battle too. When you're the leader, everyone does look to you for the answers. Everyone does look to you for leadership, mentorship, inspiration, and motivation. And when you as a leader are having a really hard time, or the struggle bus comes up and just full on trucks your ass, and you're sitting in your office, or you're sitting in your car, or you're sitting on the bench of a field, and you have your head in your hands, and you're lost because you don't know why you are where you are, or you don't know what the next answer is, or you don't know what the next thing to do is, or you're lost, or you're depressed, or whatever it might be. You're in a feeling of hopelessness and helplessness. And you believe that you have no one to turn to. The fact of the matter is that you have created that situation. When you believe you have no one to turn to, that means that you don't have a true and legitimate team that's backing you up and supporting you. Because when the next answer is outside of your grasp, who do you have on your team to be able to put that on the floor? In the U.S. Army Special Forces, when we go into planning and course of action development, we oftentimes will split the team in two. And we'll take the team, we'll split them in two, and we'll have each half of the team create a plan, a whole plan. Infill, actions on the objective, exfil, support plan, command and signal plan, what's a comms plan, what's the med plan, what's the exfil plan, what's the infill plan, the actions on the objective plan. We'll have a pace plan, primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency aspects, so 4 plans for every one. We'll go through an entire planning phase, an entire planning cycle. Then we'll bring them together, and the command of the team will get briefed on both the plans. And then we'll pick and choose what best parts of the plans from either team is, and we'll put them together 9 times out of 10, and that becomes a better plan than the original plan to begin with. The point of this story, and the point of what I just told you, is that ultimately, if you have developed a team of problem solvers, not problem finders, then when a problem arises, we as a team if I'm the leader of that team, I get to put it on the table. And I get to go, guys, here's a problem. Here's the problem. I'm not 100% certain on a solution. What are your thoughts? Go. Now, this is not a democracy. We're not going to take a fucking vote on the final decision because I'm the leader of this team, because I'm the leader of this crew, whatever it looks like. I'm going to ultimately make the final decision. That responsibility falls on my shoulders. As a leader, another part of your responsibility is to make the hard choice. So I'll have to make the hard decision if we don't have, quote unquote, the best option. But you better believe that I'm going to put it down and put it in front of my team. I'm going to talk to them about it. I'm going to ask them their opinions. I'm going to get their insight and their perspective. Because I trust them. Because I've cultivated my team to be problem solvers. I've cultivated them through and taught them and helped them and supported them and mentored them and trained them on how to think, not what to think. Number one problem, and I say this all the time, the number one problem. I gotta quit fucking saying that because all of them are number one fucking problems. Every single problem I talk about is a number one problem. A huge problem in modern society, specifically when it comes to the education system, is that our education system is teaching our children what to think, not the process of critical thought. We are teaching our children the process of what to think. We are only teaching, this is what you're supposed to think. This is what you're supposed to think. This is the term you're supposed to use. Here's the words that you're allowed to say. Here's the words that you're not allowed to say. Here's the thoughts that you're allowed to have. Here's the thoughts that you're not allowed to have. Go fuck yourself. Our education system is so fucked right now. It's ridiculous how low on the standards when it comes to international success or international capability and educational standards, how low our children perform. Because we have a giant movement of, we'll just say it, we have a giant movement of woke folks who would prefer to take away the agency of our children and brainwash them into what to think, rather than helping the agency of our children, personal agency, their ability to choose and think critically and think for themselves, rather than teaching our children the process of critical thought. If we could teach our children the process of critical thought, if we could teach our children the process of how to think, we would be better creators, we'd be better innovators. Why do you think so many people that have created such wonderful innovation, why do you think that their background is so unique? Yeah, they might have gone to school. Yes, they might have gone to college. Yes, they might have had a higher learning education. And also, they've broken all the rules. They've broken the rules on what to think. They've broken the rules on what they're supposed to do. They've broken the rules on all the shit that's been set down that says this is what you're supposed to do and this is what it's supposed to be and this is how it's supposed to work. They've broken all the rules, and through breaking the rules, through critical thought and challenging critical concepts, they have been able to create great innovations. But you know how they got there? They got there through daily consistent effort and recognizing that if they wanted something different, they had to do something different. I told you, this is not going to be like every other podcast that's out there. It's not. All these other podcasts that are out there, they have professional production. They've got a badass studio. They got all this shit. I'm literally recording on a lavalier mic that I've had for some time now in my pickup truck while I'm on the road heading to Texas, just after getting off of client calls. I'm literally fucking recording in my truck right now because I had to get this off my chest. I want you to consider this one thing. I want you to ask yourself this question. Are you leading yourself the same way you would like to lead others? Or are you leading others in a different manner than you're willing to lead yourself? He's a very good friend of mine once asked me this question. He said, Adam, do you live and practice the words that you speak? Are you a manipulator or are you a motivator? And it was a fair question because the question asked was very specific around one specific concept and idea. And that was that if you don't live the words that you speak, but you have the ability to, quote, motivate others to help them change their lives, then you are manipulating them into changing, not motivating them, because you are manipulating them based on a lie, because you are out of integrity. So I'll ask you the question again. Are you leading others the same way you lead yourself? Or are you leading others in a different way than you lead yourself? Do you have different expectations for them than you have for yourself? And when you speak words to them, do you live those words? We are not all going to be perfect individuals. Obviously, I just talked about the concept of perfection and excellence. We are not going to be perfect individuals. We're fucking human. The human condition is that we are flawed and permanently flawed. We will never be perfect. We can always strive to be better. Well, the question that I have truly is, because I'll tell you right now, I am not perfect at this. I live the words I speak, and I still make giant mistakes. There are still moments when I get down on myself. There are still moments when I have that helpless, hopeless feeling, and I have to take it to other people because I want to hear their perspective. I want to hear their insight. I want to hear what they have to say about the problem that I'm facing, because obviously what I'm doing to face the problem isn't fucking working. So if I want something different, then I got to change what I'm fucking doing. That means that I am in integrity. That means I'm not a hypocrite. That means I am living the words that I'm fucking speaking. And I'm also telling you that I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You have all these fucking great coaches that are out there, quote unquote coaches, and I hate the term coach. I hate it with a passion. We could talk about that for another day. They have all these great coaches that are out there, these great motivational speakers that are out there. I'm actually curious how many of these motivational speakers and coaches that are out there actually live the words that they speak. Or have they just become so proficient and wonderful at articulating a powerful message, and then when they leave the stage, they go fuck off and do whatever it is that goes completely against the words that they spoke to begin with? As a leader, are you a manipulator or are you a motivator? That's the question. That's the question. That's it. Consider that. You got two options in life. You can either define what you want and change the actions that you're living in order to go fucking get it, or you can sit on your ass and do the same thing over and over again and continue to live the same life that you always lived. Two options. Do the same thing you've always done, or go fucking get it. This is the Savage Freedoms Podcast.